documentation in coding projects. If we write too little documentation, then it's hard to get inside a project, especially for a newcomer. If we write too much of documentation, then it becomes stale and not reflecting the current code bases and designs. So the question is this: what is the right design, and is there a right design, or should it be taken or a project basis? matclad.github.io has a great blog post which I have read recently, and I'll summarize it for you. If you want to get more details, check out his website. The name of this blog post is Architecture.md, and here's the summary. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think many of us are already basically somewhat knowing this, but it's always good to repeat. So at first he says that this is not yet another write more documentation post. This is not his meaning. He is first justifying and bringing the motivation for an addition of another file. So in addition to the README in each code base, and in addition to the contribution README on each code base, he suggests to add just an Architecture.md. What is the motivation for? So I think I agree, and I think we should all agree that finding the right place in non-trivial project to update files is going to be 10x times slower or drastically slower for a newcomer who did not get the actual meaning. Even if the project is really sorted out and organized, the motivation and the meaning of the original solo developer who created, or solo team who created this project, is much more important than the organization. Sometimes what is not written in the code base might be more important because it has a strong indication of where you should write your code or which code you should not write. And this is not written in the code base because it's not part of the code base. So basically the claim is this: when we think of the 10x developer, or someone who takes 10x less time to write code, it's because they know exactly where to do the changes. And I have noticed it many times. When we know when to make the changes, we just go to place A, place B, place C, do the changes and wrap it up. But when we do not know, it's going to be a kind of a nightmare if the project is complex. So the suggestion is that Architecture.md is going to be a file which is kind of describing the invariants. What are the constants in the files? Not coding constants, but what are the assumptions of this code base? Which problem is it trying to solve? And which problem is this code base not trying to solve? When we go to a code base without such description, then we read the files sequentially in a pseudo-random order, not knowing exactly the map. It's very similar to landing on a desert without a map. So we just go and scan the things, but we do not see the whole organization. We need a high-level bird-eye map of this project and of additional projects. The purpose of the Architecture.md is to have a low effort and high leverage document. It should be short. We should aspire that it would not change much. So we do not want to link to direct files, but only name them and encourage the user, the developer, to search the classes by types. It should describe just the coarse-grained modules. What are the modules that we have? What are their purpose? What problems are they trying to resolve? What is the relationship in between these modules and classes? And we want to avoid to describe how the actual modules work, only what is their purpose. We leave the how it works for the actual files, inside the actual classes. We want to provide a map to the user to assist him such that it won't take him 10x time to find and locate the place it should change. Maybe include common use cases. If you're trying to solve this problem, you need to go to point A, point B, point C in the map and fill in the gaps. We want to name the important files, modules, and types and the relationships in between them. We don't want to link directly to the files because this is going to change. We want to call out the architectural invariance and the absence of something. If something is absent from this project and it's important, where could the customer and the user find it? We want to mention the layers and the boundaries of the system. The boundaries are super important because when you're trying to find your ways in the map, you want to know what is the responsibility of this module. We want to make sure that the user understands the constraints that we have taken place, the motivation to this module, and some cross-cutting concerns such as how do we treat security and logging in this module and metrics and etc. So to wrap up, one of the main considerations for a software developer was one of the differentiators in between a half-X developer or a fourth-X developer and the 10X developer is the map. Whether they have a mapping of the system in the mind so they know where to go and to make a change. This can make a huge difference. If you already know the project, then you already have the map in your brain. But what about a new developer who is coming? Do you trust only verbally telling him where to go? Why not have an architecture markdown file which briefly describes what problem are we going to solve? What are the main modules? What is the relationship? Name specific classes, some main use cases and how to do the changes. Name the invariants and the relationship between the modules. Note how it works and call out what's missing from this project and where the user can find it on different projects with the boundaries. So I tend to agree with this a lot and I'm going to adopt it. I think this can really be helpful for programmers. Let's make our life simpler. Yeah. Why make it hard? So let's give this map to our peer developers such that they can have the work done faster and explore the project. If they want to explore the file, this is fine, but a map would be extremely helpful in order to avoid a random check of the project and a semi-random check and walk through the file. So I think this was very interesting. I think he nailed it down with this specific file, Architecture.md. He named down what we want to include, what we don't want to include, and this is a great plot. Read the whole section at matclad.github.io. Thank you, Matclad. So I think this was very interesting and see you guys next time.